Hi. Hmm. I don't know how to actually start this video because it's been a bit since I made a video. Um, but this is more like an autobiography. I'm basically is if you want to watch this video, you can. It might be sad or it might be confusing. I don't know. I'm just basically talking about my life story. Ooh. Yeah. Who's ever gonna watch this? I don't know. I was gonna live stream this at the same time while recording it, but we're having issues with internet, so I don't think live streaming it right now is gonna be possible. Because as soon as his boyfriend wakes up and turns his computer on, all of a sudden the internet just crashes because of our Wi-Fi router is taking a dump on us. Nah. Either way, but I'm trying to get this video made, and there's a few other things I gotta do today. I gotta do some Blender work for somebody else, and yeah. Okay, where do I want to start? Well, one, if everybody ever always want to know what this is, this line, and my arm section, why it's always red with like stitching, looking right here. That's because this represents me also in IRL, because I was in a house fire when I was 3 years old, and I still had what's left of the burn tissue seal due to years and years worth of surgeries. That's what the stitching is them constantly cutting the skin off and stretching it together. Yay, that caused a lot of problems with my arm after that. Including here, made it where I couldn't really, this is the highest I could move my head. Right there, that's it. Because how tight the skin was, and I couldn't do this. That's what until it still pulls my lip down, like here. It still pulls it down. Until the last surgery I had, we had to go to different doctors because all they weren't really doing a good job. We had to go to, I think it was a burn center down in Florida, if I remember right. No, Missouri. It was in Missouri, if I remember right. Yeah. But it was the last few surgeries I had. It also includes trying to straighten my last fingers out because they couldn't fully get straightened out. And that was like when I was in high school. That was painful. But no, start off the beginning. Do I need to see a therapist and stuff like that? A bit, yeah, because I do struggle to understand certain emotions and things of that sort. But okay, let's start from the beginning. Like everybody's parents and stuff like that, they have hard time staying together, and mine did. My dad married, I think in his life, twice, technically, that's it. Yeah, so I do have 2 younger brothers. Well, I did, long story on that. But my mom, I got a mixture of, I don't know who's telling the truth or not, so yes, do I have abandonment issues? Yes. After I was born, my mom didn't really take care of me. I'm not fully anyway, from what I know. I know when I got to maybe 1 years old or whatever, maybe up to so many months, my mom just started dumping me off on my aunt and stuff like that. So yeah, she didn't care too much about having, taking care of the kids she had. She even did the same thing to my brother. She abandoned my brother. He's older than me. I have a total of 6 brothers. 2 of them are from my father and the rest are from my mother. Yeah, she got around and married a lot of people. Let's just say that. She couldn't keep a husband for nothing. Even right now, she's not even married. But right now, she has changed, and her weight has gotten really out of control. Out of control. She can barely walk because how big she's gotten. But she's also messed up both her knees and everything now. But other than that, before I get carried on. The whole thing is after I was born, yes, I was basically just passed around like a freaking potato. That was, yeah. But, I mostly just stayed with my aunt, who stayed with her parents and stuff like that. So I don't remember everything back when I was a child. But I also but the thing is, I lived with my older brother as well with that. We had this one house that, I think by the time, yes, I was 3 years old. And February the 14th is when the house fire happened. I'm the one that caused it. But that's because of my uncle left a jug of, gasoline inside the house for some reason. Why, I don't know. It was a gallon of gas, like a 5-gallon jug or whatever gas. I was strong enough to pick that thing up. Yeah, you to be a strong man. But he kept it locked up in a room, though, supposedly. Yeah, I do remember it was locked up in a room. But I somehow was able to get in it, is what they said. And I somehow poured it. I was pouring it in this bucket or whatever. I do remember it was a bucket, but I don't remember exactly what it was. Memory's foggy on that. But they said, from what I was told though, because I like the sizzling sound, like I think it was a stove. The stove mate and stuff like that, and I end up accidentally. And this was on the second floor. All this happened on the second floor of the building. I end up pouring it on the main hot stove, and somehow it burst into flames, and you know the rest. I was in intensive care for months on end, and my I did go a little too far in the story, because there's also a thing to where when I was born that my dad wasn't allowed to even get into the hospital, because my mom kind of just, did everything they could to keep him out. Why? I don't know. They did that. My mom's just weird. Because there was all kinds of cheating going on, apparently, is what they said. But he wasn't really cheating, but he said he was. But he caught her multiple times with different guys in the bed. Why did he stay with her as long as he did? I don't know. It wasn't even maybe 1 or 2 years at the most. I mean, I don't know what my mom was. I'm not gonna say the word. Let's go with that. Okay. But it's because he worked a lot. He just likes working. He always works. He was always gone. Stuff like that. Trying to make money and everything else. You know how dads, that's what dads do. Did I ever live with him? No, not really. Maybe a couple of times when I got out of high school and stuff like that. I mostly just stayed with grandparents. I got passed around, like I said. But what was that in the story? Yes. After the intensive care thing, my grandparents from my dad's side somehow got lawyers and that and stuff involved, and involved the police. And from what I remember, they both said the same stories, so I know this part would be true because I don't remember it too well. Is I was in the backseat of the car with my aunt and them, and a bunch of cops and everything pulled the car over, and there was a whole bunch of police force and all that stuff that came and got me out of the car. And that was that whole story. That was maybe traumatizing. I don't know, because I don't remember it. It probably would freak anybody out. I would think so. Yes. Remember this. That's scary. But other than that, though. What else? Whole childhood grew up. I mean, yes, let's just say I went to kindergarten and stuff. I was different from, like, everybody else. I was always quiet. I never talked to anybody hardly. Because it was like me, And I was different from everyone because I've had the scars. And, most kids didn't really talk to me because of it. Because, kindergarten, kids that small, they don't understand things that are different from them. I was severely different from them. Because I was the only one in the entire school system that had these scars. That was this bad. I got abused. A lot. I mean, for the entire freaking, year of that kindergarten. I got held back too because of all that crap. So I went through kindergarten twice. At least I don't remember the second year of kindergarten. I just know it was just gone like that. It went by a whole lot better, but I don't remember it too well. I remember sections and portions. It's just, it kind of sucked. I just hated kindergarten. I'm sorry, it was horrible. But how bad it was is, during my first year of the kindergarten, I was always quiet and everything else. I had like little bitty squares, for all the students to sit in, But we would always have like nap times and stuff like that. How that goes. I think it was more like preschool. I don't know. That's what it felt like. We had nappy times. Yay. I like those. Excuse me. But other than that, whenever the teacher would leave, they would have like someone just watch over. There wasn't no actual adult there watching over the freaking kids. It was just kids watching kids. I was the only one. I didn't speak to no one and stuff like that. Every student, I didn't understand what was going on because, every student would sit there, yell, have fun and stuff like that. When the teacher was gone, I'm sitting there thinking, why is everybody not okay? And none of them talked to me because I was just the oddball. They didn't understand what was going on with me. Yada yada yada. Teacher would come back, and then for some strange reason, don't know why, every student would get up. I don't know why, and tattle on me for some reason, saying I was saying all kinds of cuss words and everything else. I was being real mean to them and stuff like that. It's like, they were sitting there just whispering it. Like, every single student would get up and do it. It's kind of like they was plotting against me, some stuff like that. And I would get paddles. And this would be almost multiple times a week kind of thing. And it wasn't just a regular paddle. It was a wooden handle paddle for something I did not do. Which is fine. I mean, I hated it. It really sucked. But that was my kindergarten years. The second year didn't happen, which I'm kind of glad. But then I found out later when I was in second grade, believe it or not, that teacher I had, her name was Christy, which is weird because it's the same name as my mom. But believe it or not, when I was second grade, I found out that teacher from kindergarten that gave me a paddle every few days out of a week because of kids tattling on me for something I didn't do. She got arrested and fired because of, what was it? Child abuse. Literally. Ha! So, karma is a bitch. Excuse my language. But yes. Yeah, then I found out later also. Because in second grade that's when we started having like split classes kind of thing. Like first half of the day we was in one class and second half of the day we was in another class. And the other teacher, she was a nice old lady. From the second class, she was nice and old lady. I liked her. The teacher from the first one, she wasn't too nice and like, but she was alright. I mean, I can't give her that much problems. But then I found out later that second teacher was nice for a different reason. I found out in fourth grade. Apparently she was arrested for child molestation. Yeah, that's not good. Oh, come on. I know. That's my childhood. Yes, but I didn't get molested. Good thing. Oh, good. Thank God. As for having friends and stuff like that, I didn't have friends. No, I didn't really have friends. I mean, there was one person I knew from kindergarten called Cade. Yeah, Cade. He was alright. Really skinny. I mean, bone skinny kind of thing. And, I don't think he really ate. He says he can eat an entire fridge and never gain a single pound. I actually met up with him again in high school, which is weird. But, I mean, he was the closest thing I had to a friend anyway, and, because I don't think he was one of the kids that rattled on me, though. Which I don't think he was. I mean, it was a lot of the kids that did. But, well, I'm losing track. I always lose track. I didn't really have friends. My grandparents that I lived with, they kept me and everything else, like, way out in the wood. Basically, we lived out in the country, like, deep down in the country. That's just Tennessee. No next door neighbors, hardly. No kids to play around with. I had toys, but that's it. Some toys that we found was in the dumpster. Yes, I kid you not. There's a lot of toys that we did buy new, which is kind of nice. But that was once in a while kind of thing. My grandfather did love me. She wasn't really my grandmother. She was actually my step grandmother, but she also, she didn't like, because she married my grandfather back when my dad and my uncle and his brother were both kids, were teenagers in a way, and they didn't really like them too much. And she didn't really like them, like, at all. they always got in trouble and stuff like that, and sometimes it was probably the cause of her. She was, yeah, when I got older, I found a lot of truth about her and stuff like that, and it's like I spent my entire life, she just lied to me about a lot of things. I mean, a lot. And that's just not right. But other than that, though, I mean, yeah, I grew up. They still loved me and everything else. My grandfather did. He was, hard, but, he's older and, grandparents like that, especially ones who was raised on, discipline, working hard, and, stuff like that. But he also had a really bad gambling problem, too. It'd be like every weekend or sometimes every other weekend. What he'd do is over time, he would collect a bunch of, like, coins, quarters, pennies, everything else. He would just have a whole jar he would fill up. He would use that to go gambling with, though. But, like I said, we grew up poor and crap. We lived in, not an apartment, but it was a rental house that was run down and everything else. That house was probably, at that time when I was a kid, when I found out the age of it was back in 98. At that time, that house was 120-something years old. Electricity was added in afterwards, so it still has some of the old switches outside the wall with the wire coming out. The house had no insulation, so it was cold. So we had a wood fireplace and everything else. The living room floor, that got replaced constantly. I don't know why. Because when I was there, my grandfather was in construction and everything else. So it was a nice old lady that rented the house to us. She says, as long as we took care of the house and did like repairs and stuff like that on it ourselves, because he was a construction worker. That's all she rented out to, was construction workers. So she knew that the house will be maintained and kept going. And she didn't have to, she didn't have to call contractors and stuff like that to come and do repairs on the house. She never had to spend the money on it. So we would actually get reduced rent and stuff like that, which was kind of nice. And they worked on the place and kept it in shape. So yeah, we can do whatever we wanted to the house. It was nice, but doesn't tell you how old this place was. There was no drywall in this house. Well, no. The living room did have drywall, and the bathroom did. Now how old this house is? This house was built back when there was outhouses. That means originally this house did not have a bathroom built in. It was not built for it. It was just the living room. Behind it, you go through a doorway. There was the dining room, and then to the left you had the kitchen. Even the kitchen itself was added on. Wow, I think it was. No, it wasn't. It was originally the kitchen. That's right. The kitchen. So now the bedroom was up a flight of stairs. It was technically one bedroom, and there was a secondary bedroom that was really small. That was basically the two actual bedrooms. They just shared with each other and stuff like that. But I don't know why, but my grandfather would not go up them stairs. So the dining room technically was set up as the bedroom. He slept in there. My step-grandmother slept upstairs, but that's why I also slept as well. I don't know why. It was just a weird thing. Just go with it. But the bathroom was an add-on to that place, so it was right there. There was another doorway added to the living room that, it was just added on afterwards. Water heater and all that stuff was added in through there too. That's just how old this house was. Let's just go with that. So, you get to think, it's like, oh, that's an old house. Yes, it is. And living in that house it was pretty nice, actually. It was calm and collective. I had a bike I could ride around in and stuff like that. Bunch of, fielding and all that stuff. But, same thing. No friends, no one to talk to other than me. Now, I was so used to being just by myself that we ended up involving, because all of a sudden, then my two younger brothers from my dad, they would come by once a month at least, and they had an abusive life as well, because of their mother was very, very abusive to them. One of my brothers named Dakota, he's he still doesn't see that now when he got older. All of a sudden, it's like, dude, she was abused to you, and you want to try to stay with her? It's like, oh, she loves me now. It's like, that doesn't make a difference. I know. You should let the past be the past, but you still have to remember what she did to you, and she still did the same thing to him, even now as he got older as an adult. I kid you not. She still yanked all his money and everything out of the bank so she can go and buy a house, and she moved. She just left him jobless and everything else, and I'll tell you here a little bit on that one. Yeah, that's a whole different story, but I ain't going to all that. And okay, so my older brother that was on my mom's side, every 2 weeks I finally got around to getting a hold of him to where I can go and visit them, and I did that for years. Every 2 weeks I would go and visit them. My aunt would come and pick me up, and it was a long drive. But that was the only time I actually spent any time with anybody else, was with my older brother. And we would sometimes play the games because he got an Xbox and stuff like that. Ooh, I didn't have that. I did finally get a PS1, but that's because my dad got it for me. And because he comes by every so often, because he used to work for Sonic Corporate, and his job was to literally travel the country to train new supervisors, train the new people. And he said he hated some of the new, well, not supervisors, he would train managers, basically, of the stores. He hated it because a lot of these managers came out of college. He says it was like an argument and a half because they didn't understand nothing. Nothing. They straight up just didn't understand, He said it was like fighting with a child because they had no on-field experience. All they had was just college experience. But not for Sonic, it was just for management. That's it. When it comes to going to college for management, every store is different. So that's what he did. Well, he also not just trained new managers at different stores, he also went and provided Sonic with good store locations for them to build new Sonics. So that's another thing he did. So if you're wondering why Sonic is there, he's probably the one who decided to, let's build a store here. So there's that. Yeah. Is it every state? Probably. I mean, he probably did a Sonic here and there in every state. Who knows? But he's been doing it since the 90s, so there's a good possibility. It's because he made it where that store got put there. So I didn't really get to see him a whole lot. He'll sometimes send Sonic toys to me and stuff like that, but he had them mailed in and everything else. But yeah, that's a whole nother fight and a half on that one. So we spent most of our life, and I think because of the abuse and everything that my two younger brothers went, because they were twins. One was named Zachary, one was named Dakota. Stupid finger. Let's see. My grandparents ended up adopting them. In the upstairs bedroom, at least was big enough. We was able to put a whole bunk bed and everything off to the side. It was big enough for that. So they slept there. I slept with my step-grandmother over there. We had a big, massive, bed. So it was a pretty good size, upstairs bedroom. I mean, it was the whole upstairs, literally. But, this is a house built in the 1800s, too. So, excuse me. And I keep losing track of what I'm doing. I swear, right? Yeah, there was a whole thing with that. I didn't really like it because, I was so used to being alone, and they were some rowdy twins. I mean, they were rowdy. They got into because of the abuse and everything else, and them not being allowed and stuff like that to do things. They were rowdy. They got into things. They broke things constantly. I mean, it was bad. I was like, oh my God, why are they so bad? I was like, I wasn't this bad. I know I wasn't. Jeez. I even had this toy car I used to like. It was a little, what was it, a PT Cruiser? It was a remote control car. Oh, remote control cars back in the day are built better. What's with the ones we have now? They are complete junk. I'm sorry. The one that has a little, it's a symbol on it. I can't remember the brand. like new something, whatever you want, that you can buy from Walmart. That brand used to make really good remote control cars back in the 90s. I mean, they could do all kinds of things and keep on going. They had more power to the motor and all that stuff. Now they're like, and they roll back down. They had nothing. I'm sorry. Those things are junk now. Those are just complete waste of money now. Don't get them. Unless you know what the old ones were like. You try to get these new ones. I'd rather have the old ones. I'm sorry. They somehow ripped apart the front. They ripped the car apart for some reason. I don't know why. I really like that car because I used it a lot. I played with it a lot. That's the only thing. Most of my enjoyment I had of electronics. Same thing with the PS1. I didn't really play it. My grandfather played it because he actually liked playing. What was it? Driver 2. And there was this one mission that he couldn't pass. He had struggled with. I was able to do it. Surprisingly, that was weird. It was a really hard mission though. It was if you want to know what mission, it's the dealing one with the train, where you have to outrun the train. You had time limit to actually outrun the train, get into the other car, and get it off the track before the train hit it and blew it up. That's basically the whole mission. And it was the first mission. No, it was the first or second mission of the second disc is what it was. I still remember that. Ooh. I need to play Driver 2 again. I have it, but it's on... I'm just going to say emulator. Let's just say that. That's all it is. Have I played it? Nah, some of it. I just want to, feel like I was a kid again. Yay. But I should have played that one. But other than that, though, my dad was... not my dad. As I was growing up, you know how things go. I was always the kid that was wearing all black and stuff like that in the back of the room. Did I still have issues with other kids as growing up? Yeah, because I was always different. Yeah. Long story. Now, growing up into the high school years, I had a few friends here and there. But I still didn't talk a whole lot, Still didn't have a whole lot of friends until I got this one. I swear I don't know what was wrong with him, but I don't know, maybe because he had no friend issues as well all the way around the country. I was the only one that was the closest. Yeah. We ended up moving to another house that was just as old. Let's just say that, because since we had both my brothers now move in, we ended up having to move to a different house that was slightly bigger. And the nice thing is I actually finally got my own room. It's like, oh, sweet, but it was just as old. The nice thing about that house was, at least during the wintertime, the upstairs was actually warm, because that was the only one place in the central unit that was in this house was old. I think the thing was older than I was. But did not work. The reason why is because this house had a really, really severe issue with floods. Whoever built this house, I swear, the reason why is because they built it in a bowl. I kid you not. Everywhere around you was just a bowl. So when it came in heavy rain, it would flood inside the house. It would straight up flood. But used to, when we first moved there, it would get up to ankle height. So not very high. Did the house have to go through repairs a lot? God, yeah. But, construction worker repaired it. There you go. It was only the living room section that seemed to have needed major repairs. Everything else is kind of fine. But after there was a field of corn and that stuff that was beside of us, that field got sold to a bunch of housing companies or whatever, and they started building housing over there. They started noticing the issue with flooding issue in the back section, so they ended up building a levee, and they built it through part of our property. Our property was 5 acres all the way to the back, and my grandfather got pissed. You know how that goes. He went back there where that bulldozer was and told him what was going on. I don't know what happened afterwards, but after they built that levee, there was still flooding issues in the back, and the houses that they had built was still flooding. And it was 3 houses that was built, and only the first house they had people living in, but that was it. The last 2 houses still had issues with water getting flooded into them, so nobody moved into them. Yeah, and I don't know what's that landscape, but it was bad about flooding. And our house got worse when it came to floods, because it got up to, Yeah, oh, it got up to my knees afterwards. And it got so bad that I was constantly sick and everything else. Mold was really growing. I mean, it got bad. And it flooded more consistently. Used to, when it flooded, it would flood maybe once or twice a year in that house before that levee they built. And then after that, it would flood every time it rained, is how bad it got. They severely screwed us up. I would get so sick sometimes to where I would throw up. I would constantly throw up. I'm like, I don't remember eating any of this. I'm still constantly throwing up, constantly running temperatures, everything else. It just would not stop. I couldn't eat anything and nothing like that. I don't know where it was coming from. But we ended up losing that house because of a house fire, which is okay because living there was horrible. This is how much I kind of sort of hate my step-grandmother's family, because they all blamed it on me, thinking I was upstairs smoking and stuff like that. It's like, and at least she backed me up about saying, he doesn't smoke. We literally just woke up that morning. We literally just woke up. I went downstairs to grab my clothes so I can go upstairs and change. It's like, we literally just woke up. It was like, he was still not wearing shoes yet. He was still in his night clothes. He didn't even have a chance to even change yet. I didn't. I had no shoes, nothing like that. And this is during February. Cold and crap. And yes, February at that time was cold. Oh my word. Because the fire started inside one of the walls behind a hidden door. And it was a mixture of things, saying that it may have been due to an electrical outlet that might cause it to, arc and catch fire. And me, over the years, I finally figured out, I don't think it was that, because I got to noticing, because the excessive amount of floods we were getting, the wood stove downstairs that we had was on top of this set of bricks that was on the floor downstairs. So, that's a lot of weight. I got to noticing that it started sinking, like the whole thing started tilting like this kind of thing. The nose of the fireplace was tilting a bit. I was like, something don't look right about that whatsoever. So I got to thinking, is what happens is probably the whole stove came down enough that it pulled the pipe apart up in the ceiling. And the fire did start like right after we started the fire in that fireplace. That's the thing. So let me believe the fireplace was the cause of it. Go figure. It wasn't because of soot and stuff like that. It's only because the fireplace separated up, the piping separated up in the ceiling, and boom, fire. So that's my guess. Wow, this video is going to be kind of long, but, it's only been 30 minutes, not too bad. Like I said, it's a life story kind of thing. I think I spent even after the high school years, I just mostly tried to find jobs and stuff like that. And I still didn't spend a whole lot of time with people. I think I spent most of my life just blocking all my emotions. I don't know. I didn't understand things. I've had issues understanding certain things, so I spent most of my time just to myself, try to learn how to work on things and everything else. Keep my mind preoccupied. And I was badly overweight too. I was like, because I had a problem with my hips are here, but my stomach's here. I'm not really this skinny. I wish I was. It'd be nice. What was I thinking of? I had a bad problem with eating a lot of food, but at the same time, though, even when I got out of high school, I think the damage was already done, and I spent years trying to lose weight, but I still had an issue with eating. There was that. Yes, if one of my voice sounds like this, I am tired. Okay, I'm tired. That just went right through my eye. I don't know. Would you call it in my earlier childhood? Yes, when I was toddler size and stuff, yes, I had a lot of abuse. Okay. I spent most of my years. I think another reason why I gained so much weight too, because I spent most of my childhood also going in and out of hospitals, surgeries, and stuff like that. So a lot of times I was bedridden. Even all the way up to high school I was. And it caused me to gain tons of weight. So yes, I'm 5'11", and at that time, by the time I was in high school, I was at 260 pounds. I was a chunky boy. Right now I'm down to like 200, which is nice. I think I am. Because since I moved here, I don't have a scale, but I'll go with that later. I did. My legs hurt. Oh yeah. Oh, that hurt. Yeah, it felt good. I gotta stretch. Because I plan I gotta do other things to do today too. But I think now when I first got, this is how bad. Now my grandfather that I lived with, he passed away. What year was it? 2015, I think it was. Yes. Well, yeah, because in 2014 is when we had the house fire, and a year later my grandfather passed away from lung cancer, and it was pretty bad. Most people said, oh, it's probably because all the because of the years of smoke, mixture of smoking and everything else. I told him I think it's that, but I also think too it's because of the house we lived in, because how badly molded it got in that house. Because that right there weakens your immune system and everything else, and yeah, it did. I mean, the mold was severe. And his smoking, it's like as soon as we moved into that house, that flooded real badly. And when it got that bad of flood, we started noticing cancer and everything started popping up on him. It got the way it was on his lip. That may have been caused of smoking, who knows. He has straight up skin cancer on his lip, so a whole chunk of his lip had to get removed and stuff like that. It was bad. And then after the house fire, even when we moved into a house that was better, he ended up getting severe lung cancer. He was down to only 10% of his lungs was actually usable. He ended up passing away though, so they told him he might have 2 months. He ended up living it's like 3 months. He ended up living like 5 or 6 months. So he, this year, just months of suffering. That's what it was. And yeah, I liked. I loved my grandfather on that one. But they kept us way out in the country. I hated that part. It sucks sometimes, especially when you have no one to talk to and play with and stuff like that. Yeah, because he worked all the time as well. He always worked just like my dad did. Finally go to high school. I didn't date no one. I didn't start dating or drinking or anything like that until I got in my mid-30s. Yeah. So I spent most of my... Oh, yeah. I finally got a job at this tugboat company or whatever. And I only worked there for 2 weeks because I didn't mind the job. It didn't bother me. Okay. It was my step-grandmother that basically pissed me off and caused me to quit. Because at the time I didn't have a bank account and stuff like that. And what it is, since you don't have one, they will send the check in the mail, and usually you have to have someone to hold on to it until you can go and cash it or whatever. My step-grandmother decides to grab my check, cash it, and spend the entire thing. I told her, what you spend it on? Bills. And you didn't let me have a dime of it? What's the point of me even working if you're going to take all the money I make anyway? And she did. Everywhere I went, that's all she ever did. And no matter what job I got, my step-uncle, her son ended up moving in with us and stuff like that. And this is after we moved to a whole different... That's a whole different thing. I ain't going to try to name all the houses we moved in. I did a lot of moving. That's annoying. I've been moved around a lot. I'm tired of it. Hoping this move I just did might be the last one. I don't know if it is or not. But... I keep losing track of thought. Problem is, that's when I started noticing things about her, because that's when things got really bad. Because he ended up getting to the point to where my grandfather didn't care about getting child support from my dad, whatsoever. But she did everything in her power to try to rip child support, after his passing and stuff like that. She did everything in her power to do everything she can to rip child support from both my mother and my dad. She ever get any money from my mom? No. Surprisingly not. My dad? Oh God, yes. She was doing everything she can to rip everything he makes. Like, she wanted it all. But she screwed up in certain paperwork because she was under certain, like, child credit things. You know, they help with provisions and stuff like that. But the thing is, they were taking the child support money, a large chunk of it, actually, believe it or not. That's the reason why she wasn't getting as much as she thought she was getting. It's because they were taking it. And she was going to court and stuff like that and trying to make it where they take even more and more and more and more from him. He's like, I can't do this. He got to the point where he couldn't. So he got to where he stopped doing the Sonic thing and getting more of a stationary job and stuff like that. And yeah, there's less money involved in that one, I see. Excuse me. It was a whole mix-up. I don't know. I got lost in all that. I didn't care too much for it anyway. But even with me trying to get a job and stuff like that, I was like, I just need to move out of here, you know. I was like, oh, this house can belong to you. I was like, I don't like this house. That's the problem. And we ended up buying a house, and it was bad. It was just, it wasn't really worth it. It wasn't worth it. Especially since, I don't know what it was with that town, but the only factory in that town was a place called Pick Sweet. Did I work there? Yes, for like 3 months, but because my oversized weight and, you know, physical ability I had, I couldn't keep up with the production of things because I wasn't fast enough. And a lot of stuff, I was like, oh, you know, my body just couldn't take it. And my body still can't take it. It hasn't really recovered correctly. And I'm always tired and worn out, and so that's my childhood. Made it where I can barely keep up with today's fast-paced work and stuff like that. So, yeah, no, I'm sorry, it hurts me. So even when I was working at Pixie, she was taking like all the money I was making, and at that time you're thinking, oh, how much was she making? $7.25 an hour, getting 40 hours a week. It's not a lot. You can't even live off that. And what I mean by because of Pick Sweet, the electricity to that town was incredibly high no matter what you did. You're thinking it's like, oh, wait, it's a factory. That shouldn't be that bad. No. Anytime you live in a town with a factory that's right there beside all the houses, the electricity to that town is going to be incredibly high if you live there. Our electricity, believe it or not, was up to $600 a month. And she's like, oh, it's probably because of the AC you run upstairs and stuff like that. It's like, it gets hot up there. We got central air unit. It's like, that don't do no good. And no, it didn't. Because the central air unit was added on. It did not do a lick of good. I'm sorry, but it didn't. Whoever installed that unit, I should slap them. They didn't do a good job because that unit failed once a year. And we found out later the company who installed it went out of business. Go figure that. Boyfriend's awake. But other than that though, yeah, she always took all my money and everything else. I ended up getting another job, but it was a seasonal kind of thing. There's 2 different seasonal jobs. So yeah, I always missed too many days and everything else because of jobs I couldn't just keep up. It ended up being the last job I got in that town was Bonnie Plant Farm. I don't know how Bonnie Plant Farm operates, but it should be illegal. I kid you not. The stuff they do it's actually life-threatening to people. I know it's life-threatening because they have one trucker. And here's the thing, the trucks that they have, you don't have to have a trucker's license to drive these things because they only have a single rear axle. Kid you not? And they're below a certain height and at a certain weight limit. So they put all the plants and everything in them. You only get between 2 or 3 people per truck. And what they do is they come in, they have to fill the truck up with plants and take them out to the stores and stuff like that. Grant you, this is Bonnie Plant Farm. The stuff they do is it's dangerous. I kid you not. It is full-blown dangerous. The reason why is because one of the trucks that they have takes one of the longest routes down the Mississippi. And And it's a 3-hour drive one way. So you spending all that time. I worked with it. That's when I quit. I did it for like a week or two. I just ended up quitting after that one. Because I worked for the other trucks. I was there for a few months. I was there long enough at least to buy a car. Let's just say that. And... Hi. You sound dead. Yeah. But yeah, how bad was the... It was the last truck I got to work on, and like I said, it was the longest route for a week straight. I didn't even get like maybe an hour sleep a night. That's how bad it was. Because when we get back from the route, it's already dark. It's like freaking, I don't know what time in the morning. I was like almost 12. And we sit there and have to come back. You expect you have other employees or something there anyway to help load the truck in? No. The ones who load the truck is the driver and the passenger. That's it. I kid you not. That's so ass backwards in that place. It's like, when you have, this is kind of like a factory kind of thing, you know. Well, why don't you have other employees to load the trucks up so you can allow your driver and the passenger to get some rest? No, you're spending an hour or so having to load this truck up by hand. I kid you not, by freaking hand. Which you have to anyway because it's just racks in there. You have to put all the potted plants and that stuff in. And you're sitting there loading it by hand, and that's a lot of plants. I did it for like a week. It was the last truck out there that I was there. I did it for like a week, and I just straight up quit. I'm sorry, man. I could not do it. And, you know, especially we only getting, I think there's a few nights I didn't get no sleep. And here's the thing. That driver, he stayed drunk at the freaking time, too, because of... Hi. The driver of the truck stayed drunk. That's how bad it was. Like I said, buying a plant farm is dangerous to work for. The money's not even that great either. I'm sorry, because all I got was $7.25 an hour. Oh. But I made enough money to where I can buy a crappy used car, and I left that town because that town had no jobs, nothing like that. I tried applying for certain jobs there for like, let me try it for the Dollar General store. Why not? It's easy, go for a job. No. So many people in that town, there's not a single job in there. There's not even a McDonald's in that town. And guess what? After I moved out of that town, like 4 years later, they finally built a McDonald's on the highway. Is it a walk? It's about a 20-minute walk. I was like, wow, they don't even have McDonald's in that town. There's no fast food places. There's no... There's just a bunch of mom-pop restaurant shops. That's a tiny little town that's dying, and I'm sorry. Just don't bother with that town. If you want to know what it was Bells, Tennessee. I am sorry. Y'all's town sucks. It's not meant for the population that you have. Just saying. Bells, Tennessee. Bells, Tennessee. That town sucks. Other than that, though, have I done things in my life I regret? Yes, I do. Am I going to say it? No. So I finally moved out of there. I finally moved back in with my aunt and my brother. They lived in a rental house and stuff like that. And I spent a good 4.5 years looking for a job. And this is when Obama was in office. Finding a job was next to impossible. Yeah, it was in 2011 when I finally moved out of that town. I moved to Covington. Ooh, much nicer town. Yes, that's much bigger. Still kind of out in the country, and the car I had was not in the best of shape. I think it was like 3 years later. I was just struggling just to keep fueling it because of, I had no job. And I was just really bad with managing money, too, as well. I was bad about it. But, they helped support me and everything else. And then my brother finally got a card where he can do delivery driving and stuff like that for Domino's. He made pretty good money on that. His car wasn't the best because it was a 92 Oldsmobile. And you think, it's probably pretty good reliable car. No, that computer in that thing kept frying once a year. The computer in it, the one that controls the ECM, kept frying. It kept burning up for some reason. Everybody kept saying probably a ground issue. No, we tested all that. It's like I couldn't find out why. It just kept burning up once a year, exactly in a year's span. The computer would go. Sometimes the car would not run. Now the original computer that was in it was actually good. It's because they had an issue. He had an issue before I moved there. The car wouldn't run. So they changed out the computer. They changed out the core pack module and all that stuff that was in that car. They still couldn't get to run. I got to thinking. I didn't know a whole lot about cars at the time. I just know I was like, let me look at the core pack module and why it's not igniting. You know, I follow the wiring and stuff like that. It's like, hey, what about this thing behind this pulley? You know, technically it's a harmonic balancer that's on your car. Yeah, I went to automotive later. And we took it off, and sure enough, there's a Hall effect sensor in there that the magnet popped out of. That's all it was. We put a new one in it, and the car started right up. But whatever that computer was that he got originally, because the original computer was actually in good shape. It was working, but after that, after he replaced that computer, that car just didn't want to stay running every time. But because this car was owned by an old lady, it didn't get driven much and stuff like that. You're thinking, oh, it might be in pretty good shape. Nah, it was not. It was not. This car was just bleh. This is how bad it got. It got to where the intake manifold bolts, the bolts came loose. When it came loose, it dumped coolant into the oil, and it wrote a bearing and everything on cylinder 1. That's just it. Just then after that, it was just it trashed. We ended up trashing the car after that because we weren't worried about trying to fix that thing. So he drove the minivan that we had. But okay. Excuse me. But I can't think off the top of my head. So, I mean, yeah, I think throughout the years I still fought with things, stuff like that, and I finally ended up going to TCAT school. In 2015. No. I went to TCAT school in 2013. I finished in 2015. I finished actually early, I think, if I remember right. I think I did. No. Yeah. I finished early. I finished school early, actually. Which was kind of nice. I ended up going to a Ford dealership, believe it or not. The Ford dealer was... I found out later that it was also in that same town, but in that town, it was people didn't like that dealership. So trying to find employees and stuff like that to work there was really, really hard. The shop was old, it was really small, and the demand for these newer cars that was coming out, that shop couldn't keep up with it because of, well, how you say, yeah. But the bad thing is, between me, it was just me and two other techs, technically. That's all it was, and like one oil changer, which they were going through oil changes like crazy. Well, I started out as an oil changer. And let me start with that. I started out with an oil changer. Did that for like a year, then they moved me up as an actual tech because we had a few people there they noticed that he seems to be able to figure out cars pretty well, and I was able to figure out issues with cars and things like that better than most people could. Even the techs who's been there for the longest, they struggled with. They got to noticing with the electrical side of things. I was able to figure things out, and yes, I'm strongest on electrical. I found out. But I've spent most of my years just mainly working. I would go to work. I didn't go out and have fun because I didn't know what that was like. Because the way my past childhood was like, I was more of go to work, come home. Go to work, come home. If I worked on things, it would be at home. Did I know anything about going out and having fun? No, I didn't. I still kind of don't. I'm trying to change that up. You know, I'm trying to change all that up. Yeah. But but the thing is that's the way my whole life has been. I worked for Ford for like 5 years. I started getting stressed out. The thing is, it got to down the way it was just me and two other techs, and we was making enough money for the shop. Now, the owner of the shop actually owned another shop right next door. It was a Chrysler shop, you know. And the bad thing is, we were making enough money to keep both shops going. We made more money in the Ford shop, and it was smaller than the Chrysler shop. I mean, there was barely any room to walk around, or, every time you bumped into everything, even the cars themselves, just trying to walk. And we made more money in the Ford shop to pay for the salesman and everybody up front, to pay for the salesman and all the other techs that was over there at the Chrysler shop. That's how much money we was making compared to the Chrysler shop and the other places. After I quit there, things kind of went downhill as well. That's how bad it was. I was more of the fast person who got things fixed in and out pretty quickly too. And so was my other buddy, and we had one other person that was getting really pissed off because he got stuck with a lot of the bigger jobs. Wasn't making as much. He wasn't. That's just, I mean, yeah, traumatizing wise is most of my childhood, Yeah, I spent most of my life, and I spent about a couple years out of the automotive area. I was trying to. Then I ended up going back into automotive, and yeah. Now my grandfather on my mom's side of the family, he passed away in 2022. We're not sure what was going on, but he had full-blown liver failure, kidney failure, and everything else. It was, Wait, did I just do? Whoa. Yeah, I know. My step-grandmother, she finally passed away. I think she was like 100. Was she 100? I don't remember. Probably like 99 years old when she passed away. I still don't like her to this day. Yeah, I know, because she lied a lot to me. Yeah, I think I got into the furry. I started getting into the furries like in 2018. But I knew about them before that, but I didn't really get into them. I got into 2018. I started to get into them, but I also didn't have. I didn't have computers and internet stuff like that until after 2011. Anyway, until after I moved from them, because my step grandmother didn't allow computers. She didn't allow internet and stuff like that. All she wanted was her DirecTV and watching Hall's network. That's all she ever watched. Oh my god. Same old shows over and over and over and over and over and over and over. That's all she ever watched, and it was annoying. But yeah, that was a whole nother thing. What else? I mean, eventually I ended up, because when I went back into automotive, I went to Chrysler instead, to the same two shops, because that's the only thing that was in that town. It pissed me off working there because we had a few techs, and it got to where pretty much all of them quit. And we had one other tech, but he was slow. He could not diagnose a car with crap, and he's still working there though. And it was down to me trying to diagnose all the cars. And Chrysler vehicles, especially with stuff you haven't dealt with yet, was kind of difficult to diagnose. I'm sorry, but Chrysler vehicles right now are complete junk. Don't buy them. Just don't buy a Chrysler. Cause them dealerships to go under, as far as I know. Even the Fords. They're horrible. Because here's why. Believe it or not, Chrysler and Ford, most of them automotive, like even GM, build these cars to fail. I kid you not. They are built to fail. Take it to the one who worked for them. They built them to fail. Just so you can buy another car. All because it gets to the point to where it's too expensive to keep it maintained at that time. They're building them to fail. If you want to buy a good, reliable car, you get a Honda. I mean, Honda's got a few of their issues, or a Toyota. Because at least with Toyota, yes, they're not very fuel efficient. Don't have all the comfortability and everything like a Chrysler would have. Oh, they're not as luxurious. Oh, but if you want something reliable, just get a Toyota. I kid you not. Just get a Toyota. Toyota. I drive a Toyota. It's an 04 with 203,000 miles, but that's all I can afford. I'm sorry. It still runs good. I can't complain. But I think in the long run, yeah, I mean, is it a full life story? I don't know. There's probably a few things I skipped. Things I probably don't remember. Here's one part of my childhood I do remember. Like I said, when kids having issues understanding why you look like you do, I even had high schools pick on me on, especially one particular one that would pick on me real badly on the school bus. It got so bad that he got kicked off. He got basically suspended from that school bus multiple times. How bad it got. He even got to the where I think he got another kid my age to keep him from getting in trouble. Closer to my age, to actually try to beat me up. I mean, I got punched and everything, like straight face and all that stuff. It's like, what was going on? I didn't do anything but just sit there and stay quiet. Sit there and stay quiet. I got picked on, I got beat on, and everything else. But I spent most of my life just not showing emotions and everything else. And I think these past few years, I tried to actually release my emotions. I got to where, yes, I had so much stuff backed up, I cried for, God, days on end. It got to where I got weak, I collapsed, and stuff like that. And I think it caused a severe, depression issue. Because of, it got to where I started hallucinating, actually. I let depression hit so hard a few times, so I started hallucinating. And then started having, I don't want to say the word on here because I don't know how YouTube will react to it. But I'm going to say S-U-I. Or S-U-I-C-I-D. What? Or S-U-I-C-I-D. I think that's how you spell it. But you know what I mean. I tried attempting it, not with cuts, because I was scared of blood, just like everything else. But the hallucinations got sometimes so bad, I started hallucinating like there was another person sitting right there. You can't believe it. I thought there was somebody there, but there's not. I was literally seeing someone else there. It looked like it wasn't human. It wasn't human, but it was human related. It's like someone was there but wasn't, and they were just holding a knife in the hands, like, hey, just end it. That's literally what they was telling me. That's how bad the hallucinations would sometimes get. Do I get them now? No. Surprisingly not. Because I've been trying to keep it under control, and that's involving blocking most emotions. And here's the thing. I know I have friends and that stuff now on Discord, that I've met through the furry community and thing. It's wonderful. Surprisingly. I mean, you still got some furries that's like, huh? And you got some that's like, But you got some that's, I want to be real good friends and everything else. I actually want to help and everything else. I appreciate it, but I do struggle to understand it. I don't know if it's something in my mental block, but I do struggle to understand the help. I do what I can to help others. I mean, it's gotten better, but it's taking time. I've just damaged my brain. Yeah, I just lived most of my life just alone, and which I'm not now. I'm living with somebody now, but it's still kind of a distant thing, even though they're in the other room constantly. Poke. But yeah. Well, that's me in a nutshell. I mean, yeah, now I did move out of Tennessee. I'm now in Kentucky, so yeah. Oh. I'm going to say, but it's kind of nice. I actually went to Fizzy Fox. That's what it was. If you look at Fizzy Fox, I went down to the shoulder shop. Ooh, good soda. Yes, very good. Ooh. He should do some of the custom ones I've seen in the videos for it. So good. I like the Dr. Pepper one he does. Oh, it's so tasty. The orange one takes like, I tried the, it was an orange ice cream soda kind of thing. It actually tastes like the, the orange popsicles that you used to have? You remember the round cylinder ones that you used to be able to just push out? It's like, I love them. I used to eat tons of those things when I was a kid. I think that was also part of my weight gain too. Yeah, other than, I'm not going to stay on here for too long because I got to do a bunch of other things, but yeah, a complete just whirlpool for me. What it feels like sometimes. But now, though, I am working, but took a bit after moving here. Oh my god, 50 hours a week. I've been trying to also learn how to do... I used to do a lot of projects, and on this YouTube channel right now, I used to have tons of more videos that I did of all the stuff I used to work on and everything else, but since I moved here, I'm actually in an apartment complex now, so can't really do it anymore, because I have just can't do none of that stuff anymore right now, because I can't do any of that. I can do small little trinket stuff, nothing crazy. Nothing huge like it used to. Same thing with, no, just a lot of stuff. Do I have all those videos up on YouTube? No, not anymore. I just took them down. Just might as well. But that's how I got most of the subscribers I have now. And trying to have a whole different fan base, followers, it's way more difficult than you think. It's a lot more difficult. Trust me. But that's most of my life story there. I mean, did I go through child abuse? Oh yeah, I've had trauma and all that stuff. Especially my younger years, much younger years. And after that, you find out later that the person you've been living with has been lying to you most of your whole life about things, and then you get abandoned technically by both your dad and your mom. Dad only did so because his job required him to constantly move everywhere, so he could never be there. And the mom, she didn't really care. She just ended up going around doing a different guy every so often. So yeah. And if you want to know about why I say I used to have 6 brothers, because the 2 brothers I had that was on my dad's side of the family, one of them passed away in 2018. That's when we moved into that one house that me and my aunt and brother got. We ended up buying a house to move my grandparents out of, Memphis, because they retired and everything else, and it was getting kind of dangerous in the area they were living in. My brother also passed away in 2018 because he fell asleep at the wheel. It was just like a car crash, but he didn't crash into another car, because there's an area that's between Bells in Brownsville that it's just a really narrow road, and it's just got a steep off cliff, and there's been multiple crises because of this, but people hasn't died from it. Well, I think they have, but there's been multiple crises because of how this narrow road is, and and it's like no shoulder to drive off on or anything. It's no shoulder or nothing. It's just a narrow road with steep clip-offs. And what happened is, when I mean steep, I mean you can pretty much get a semi-truck and stand it straight up in there. Is how deep it is. And what happened is, he ended up falling asleep in the wheel and drove off into that steep area and ended up hitting a tree. That front of that car and everything got pushed up. The steering column and everything got shoved up into him and all that stuff. Yes, don't fall asleep at a wheel. Yeah, he was just, yeah. So, yeah, I lost one brother. I know that should be more worse, but yeah. But that's when I noticing my emotions was blocked, because trying to cry was, like, really hard for me to do. Yeah. I think that's when it started, when it really hit hard. And so, yeah, there was that. And right now, my dad, he's in a condition now where he has a spinal disease or something in his, his spine that's causing severe deterioration. And right now, he has no bones in his neck. It's just still rotting. It's all it's holding his head up. So when he turns his head, he has to pretty much just turn his whole body like this. It's just, it's just, he looked like a stiff zombie. But he can still move his arms. He's gained a little bit of weight because of it, stuff like that. But yeah, because now he's disabled and everything else. La da da da. You know how that goes. Other than that, though, I get upon my back. Oh, I'm so worn out. Oh, my body is, and like I said before, bad shape. I'm in really bad shape. Oh. But, I mean, things have gotten better. I'm just having to work hard to get it better. Yeah. So, a lot of my life I spent... Yeah, either way. I don't want to carry on. Because this video is getting really long. But that's most of my life story. Yeah. Things have been rough. I've pulled through. I kept going. Have I attempted SUICID? Yeah, I have tried to attempt it multiple times, especially in the past few years. Did I get it under control? Yes, I did. But in the process, also too, I was able to lose weight. I mean, like I said before, when I struggled with my weight, I was around 235, 240 pounds. My weight always fluctuates throughout the years, and 2023 is when I finally fully got into VR, and I decided, let me try to see if I could lose weight. Oh my god, I had to straight up starve myself, because I ended up, something in my body decided to be, real struggling, even when I did eat less and worked out more, just work out, but constantly, the work and everything else can't stay in motion and stuff like that. My weight would not go down no matter what I did. So I dropped my calorie down to at least about 700 to 800 calories a day. Really, really small. Did it work? Yes. Within the first week, nothing happened. Once the second week hit, that's when the weight started dropping. It was dropping so rapidly fast, I was losing a pound a day. Is how it was dropping. Within the first month, I lost 30 pounds. And after that, the next 2 months, it dropped maybe another 10. And I mean, as the months went along, it got a little bit slower on dropping weight. I was able to get my weight down to about 190, which was nice. Yay! I'm about 200 right now, I think. I don't have a scale at the moment, so since I moved here, I don't have a scale. But I did have one ordered, so I will be getting one here pretty soon. It's supposed to be in the day. It's supposed to be. So I'll be able to keep track of my weight again. Because I haven't here lately, especially since last year. I have not kept in track. I've been noticing. I can tell if I gain weight because I feel more. I feel heavier feeling. I don't feel like I have as much energy I used to have. Wow, my legs. I need to get some. Everything's tight. Wow, I need to get some water. Water. Yes. But other than that, though, yeah. Things can be stressful. Things can be traumatizing. I know most people fight with stuff, but you gotta remember, there's always tomorrow. You can always think of... Everybody's a bit different. Just think of, there's always going to be something better. There's always be somebody there to help support you. Well, not just help support you, but try to help you out. And get to noticing, I understand it a bit better in my point of view that most people, the reason why they don't seem to have the help for the sport, because they don't understand why. I don't understand why I'm trying to get help. Why people are trying to help me. I think people with traumatized life just don't understand it because of the traumatized point of view is that person or whatever that abused them and stuff like that. They're not there trying to help them. That's the way I see it. They're not there trying to help you. So I think I still see people as I'm waiting for them to abuse me kind of thing. I don't know why. That's the way I see it. That's what happened to me when I was... like I said, when I was in kindergarten, I was just abused, basically, by a mixture of the kids and the teacher and stuff like that, and I'm still waiting for, someone to abuse me. I don't know why. That's what I'm waiting on. Maybe. And also the abandonment issues. I always want to seek attention and stuff like that. I do. I really, really do. I just want to seek a lot of attention, but I hate it. I really do. It stresses me out sometimes, and then I don't want to seek it, and I just, oh my god, it's so annoying. There's so many different things. And then the house fire thing. Most people, I guess, I know you can watch movies and stuff like that, yada, yada, yada. What is it? Most people who watch movies, don't like seeing the gore and stuff like that. Yeah, there's some gore I see that doesn't bother me because I know it's not real. But then when I see stuff like on 28 years later, ooh, they call removing the shirt. I'm sorry, but it freaks me out. It gets me the, you know. And then when you have scenes where people are getting burned alive, that's more traumatizing to me because I really don't want to see that because of, this. Because I've been burned alive. So there's that. But yeah. It's been rough, but at the same time, confusing. I have pulled through, I've made it through. I'm here. I'm still here. I've been pushing. Ha. But oh well. I think I might call it here. What do you think? Yeah, I might call it here. It was good to hang out, at least. I know it's been months since I made a video, but like I said, I've been working so much, it's been hard to do or make a video. So just had to deal with me, Ooh. I try to see if I can get videos and that stuff out, but it's just been Y'all have a good one. I'm heading out because I gotta edit this video to get it on YouTube. Yay! I would live stream it, but like I said, our router's taking a dump and I might not handle it too well. So that's me in a nutshell. I still struggle with things. I know. I still struggle to understand things, but I'm pushing through. I keep going. Y'all have a wonderful day. Wonderful. Just enjoy life. Even though our government's making it where it's almost impossible to enjoy life. But, just do what you can and enjoy life. Don't fall for the scandals and stuff like that. Yeah. Have a wonderful one. Bye. Bye-bye. Bye.